The pen was already in my hand. I was leaning over the kitchen counter, reading through the last page of the document my brother had couriered over that morning, when my phone lit up face down on the granite. I almost ignored it. Almost. Something made me flip it over. It was Dr. Patrice Coleman, my mother's physician for the last 11 years. The woman who had held my mother's hand through 2 rounds of chemo and a hip replacement. She never texted me. Ever. The message was 4 words long. Do not sign anything. I set the pen down. A second later, my brother's name flashed across the screen. A call this time. I watched it ring, watched it stop. Then a text appeared beneath it, casual and warm the way he always was when he wanted something. Hey, did the courier drop off the estate docs? Just need your signature today so we can close everything out before the 30-day window. Love you. The contrast between those 2 messages, one from a woman who had no reason to lie to me, one from a man who had every reason to sat in my chest like a stone dropped into still water. The ripples spread slow, then fast, then faster. I walked away from the counter. I did not pick up the pen. I called Dr. Coleman back. She answered before the first ring finished. Sarah. Her voice was low, controlled, the same tone she used when delivering difficult news in a quiet room. Are you alone? Yes, I said. What's going on? I need you to listen to me carefully, and I need you to stay calm. She paused. I've been your mother's doctor for over a decade. I loved that woman. And because I did, I've been sitting on something for 3 days, trying to decide if it was my place to say it. Another pause. Longer. It is absolutely my place. What she told me next dismantled the last 2 years of my life in about 8 minutes. My mother had died 6 weeks earlier. Pancreatic cancer, fast and brutal, the way that particular disease tends to be. She had been sharp until nearly the end, lucid, specific, particular about her wishes. What she had not been was alone with her estate attorney. My brother had insisted on sitting in on every single legal meeting in the final month of her life. He had told me it was to help her, to take the burden off her. He had framed it as love. Dr. Coleman had been present at one of those meetings, briefly, in a medical capacity. She had watched my brother guide my mother's hand through a document. She had watched my mother's eyes, glassy with pain medication, track the page without quite following it. She had said nothing at the time. She had told herself it was a family matter, a legal matter, not her business. But then she had reviewed my mother's chart and found the medication logs. The dosage adjustments my brother had requested in the final 2 weeks, not increases that would have made my mother more comfortable. Adjustments careful, deliberate, that would have made her more compliant, more suggestible, more likely to agree to whatever was placed in front of her without fully understanding it. He didn't forge anything, Dr. Coleman said. He didn't have to. He just made sure she couldn't fight it. I was standing in the middle of my living room with no memory of walking there. The sunlight coming through the blinds cut the carpet into long, pale stripes. The document he sent you today, she continued. I don't know exactly what's in it, but I know what he filed with the estate attorney last week. Your mother's revised 3 weeks before she died, removes you from the primary beneficiary position entirely. The house, the investment accounts, the trust she set up when you were born, all of it redirected. She stopped. To him, my mother's estate was not extravagant by any outside measure, but it was everything she had built over 40 years of working, saving, going without. The house where I had grown up, the accounts she had sacrificed vacations to fill. The trust, $340,000 she had told me since I was a teenager, was for when you're ready to build something real. I had spent the last 6 weeks grieving. My brother had spent them restructuring. The document he sent me today, I said. My voice came out flat, like a line on a monitor. What does he need my signature for, if he already has everything? The house, Dr. Coleman said. Your mother added you to the deed 11 years ago after your father passed. It was the one thing he couldn't touch without your signature. He needs you to sign a quitclaim deed. That's what's on your counter right now. I looked back toward the kitchen. The papers. The pen I had set down without knowing why. If I sign that, I said slowly, I lose the house. You lose everything, she said, and there's nothing left to contest. I sat down on the floor, not in a dramatic way. My legs simply stopped working for a moment and the floor was the closest surface. I pressed my back against the couch and stared at the ceiling and waited for the feeling of the world falling away to pass. It passed, and what replaced it was not grief. It was not even anger. It was something colder and much more useful. Clarity. Because suddenly the last 2 years snapped into focus the way a blurry photograph resolves when you adjust the lens. The way my brother had gently, consistently suggested that I was not handling our mother's illness well. The way he had started sitting in on my mother's phone calls with me, always with some reasonable excuse she gets confused when she's tired. I just want to make sure she doesn't overdo it. The way he had told me, more than once, that I needed to take better care of myself, that I seemed scattered, that stress did things to people's memories and perceptions. He had been building a file on me, a quiet, undocumented file, establishing to anyone who might later ask that I was the unstable one, the emotional one, the one who couldn't be trusted to handle an estate. He thought that if he made me doubt myself enough, I wouldn't trust my own instincts when something felt wrong. He was about to find out how badly he had miscalculated. I stood up. I thanked Dr. Coleman. I told her I was going to need her to be willing to put in writing what she had told me, and she said she had already contacted an attorney and was prepared to do exactly that. She had 3 days of chart notes. She had the medication adjustment requests with my brother's signature on them. She had, it turned out, been angrier than she let on for longer than I had realized. I hung up and stood in my kitchen looking at the documents on the counter. Then I called my brother back. "Hey," his voice was warm. "Easy." He had always been good at easy. "Did you get a chance to look at everything? It's pretty straightforward. Just the property transfer to simplify the estate administration. I'll sign it," I said. "Can you come over? I want to do this in person." A brief pause. Not long enough to be suspicious. Just long enough to be satisfied. "Of course," he said. "I'll be there in an hour." I had 53 minutes. My first call was to an estate attorney, not the one my brother had been using, but a woman named Patricia Voss, who had been recommended to me 2 months ago by a coworker and whose card I had dropped in a drawer without looking at it. I pulled the drawer open, found the card, and explained the situation in under 4 minutes. She told me to take photographs of every page of the document on my counter before he arrived. She told me not to sign anything. She told me she would need the medical records Dr. Coleman had referenced, and that if what I was describing was accurate, what had been done to my mother's will constituted undue influence, a recognized legal basis for contesting an estate. "How long has he been planning this?" she asked. "At least 2 years," I said. "Probably longer. Then we move faster than he expects," she said. My second call was to my cousin Jade. She was 23, sharp, and had the particular skill of being completely invisible to people who underestimated her, which was almost everyone. She had spent the last month at my brother's house helping with what he described as a state organization. I had been grateful at the time. I understood now that he had kept her close to keep tabs on what I knew. She answered on the second ring. "Jade," I said, "I need to ask you something and I need you to tell me the truth." A silence that told me everything before she spoke. "I was going to call you," she said quietly. "I saw some paperwork on his desk 2 weeks ago. I didn't understand what I was looking at. But it had your mom's name on it, and your name with a line through it. And her voice broke slightly. "I didn't know what to do." "I know," I said. "It's okay. I need you to do something for me right now." She was at my brother's house. She had a key. She had access to the home office where he kept his physical files. "The blue accordion folder on the left side of the bottom drawer," I said, guessing based on a detail she had mentioned weeks ago about how he organized documents. "I need you to photograph everything in it." "He'll be gone for at least 2 hours," she said. "He just left." "He's coming here," I said. "You have less than that." I heard her moving before she finished agreeing. A door, footsteps, the specific silence of someone trying to be quiet. While she worked, I did 3 things. I photographed every page of the quitclaim deed. I emailed the photographs to Patricia Voss and to my own personal email. I wrote the date and time on a notepad and set it on the counter. Then I called the county recorder's office and asked a single question: whether a deed transfer recorded without proper disclosure of a concurrent estate dispute would be considered valid. The answer was instructive. Then I sat down at the kitchen table and waited. He knocked at exactly the 1-hour mark. He had always been punctual. It was something our mother had praised him for his entire life, and he had worn it like a medal. I opened the door. He looked the way he always looked, put together, unhurried, carrying a leather portfolio under his arm, like a man arriving for a routine business meeting. He hugged me. I let him. He smelled like the same cologne he had worn since college, and I felt, briefly and terribly, the full weight of what this was. Not a stranger, not an enemy I had chosen. My brother. The person who had taught me to ride a bike in the driveway of the house he was now trying to take from me. I let the feeling pass. I let him in. "You look tired," he said, setting the portfolio on the kitchen table. "Are you sleeping?" "Not great," I said. "You know how it is." "I do." He shook his head with practiced sorrow. "It's been a rough couple of months. For both of us." He opened the portfolio. pulled out a duplicate of the document already on my counter, freshly printed, clean. He set a pen beside it. Honestly, once we get this wrapped up, I think we'll both be able to start actually grieving instead of dealing with all this administrative stuff. I looked at the pen. I looked at him. Can I ask you something first? I said. Of course. Still easy, still warm. The will revision, I said. The one filed 3 weeks before Mom died. Did she ask for that? Or did you suggest it? The warmth didn't disappear. That was the thing about him, it never disappeared all at once. It dimmed, fractionally, like a light on a slow dial. Sarah. He said my name with a careful kind of patience. Mom was very clear about her wishes by the end. She wanted to simplify things. I was with her every day. I know what she wanted. You were with her every day, I said. That's true. You were also the one who requested the medication adjustments. The dimming stopped. The dial held. I was managing her care, he said. The doctors agreed. Dr. Coleman didn't agree, I said. She documented her concerns at the time. She didn't speak up then. She's speaking up now. The silence that followed lasted approximately 4 seconds. I counted. Dr. Coleman is an emotional woman who is overly attached to a patient, he said. Anything she says is, it's already with an estate attorney, I said, along with the chart notes. And the medication logs with your signature. I paused. And whatever Jade is photographing in your home office right now? He stood up. The portfolio slid off the table. He didn't catch it. You had no right. She has a key, I said. You gave it to her. He looked at me the way people look when the map they've been trusting suddenly stops matching the terrain, not just surprised, but fundamentally disoriented, like the ground itself has done something it wasn't supposed to do. This is not what you think it is, he said. His voice had changed. The warmth was gone entirely now. What was underneath it was not rage, not yet. It was calculation, looking for a new path. I know exactly what it is, I said. I kept my voice even. I've known for about 4 hours. It took me that long because I trusted you. Not because I was confused, or scattered, or struggling to cope. Because I trusted you. He tried 3 more times. He tried the grief angle. We were both devastated. Grief made people do things. He could explain everything if I just calmed down. He tried the practical angle, contesting the will would cost more than I stood to gain. Did I really want to spend the next 3 years in litigation? He tried. Finally, and desperately. The family angle, Mom would not want this. Mom would want them to handle it quietly. Together. I thought about my mother in her last weeks. Her eyes moving slowly across a document she didn't fully understand. Someone guiding her hand. Mom would want the will she actually intended, I said. Not the one you arranged. I walked to the door and opened it. Patricia Voss will be in contact with your attorney Monday morning, I said. If you want to reach me before then, reach out through her. He left. I closed the door and stood with my back against it for a long moment, listening to his car back out of the driveway. The pen he had brought was still on the kitchen table. The quitclaim deed was still unsigned. Jade sent me 47 photographs 20 minutes later. Among them were drafts, earlier versions of the will revision with handwritten notes in my brother's handwriting. A printed email thread between him and the estate attorney that began 14 months before our mother died. A timeline, an actual written timeline of steps, with checkboxes. He had been planning this since before she was even diagnosed as terminal. He had begun the moment the first prognosis came in. Patricia Voss filed for a will contest on the basis of undue influence 8 days later. The petition included Dr. Coleman's sworn statement, the medication logs, the email thread Jade had photographed, and the handwritten will drafts. It also included a forensic document examiner's analysis of the signature on the revised will, which showed tremor patterns consistent with someone whose fine motor control was compromised by the specific medication combination my brother had requested. My mother had signed it. She simply had not understood what she was signing. The estate was frozen pending the contest. The house remained in both our names while the court reviewed the evidence. My brother's attorney made 2 settlement offers in the first 30 days. Patricia Voss advised me to decline both. I declined both. The contest took 11 months. It was not clean or quick or cinematic. There were depositions and document reviews and days where I sat in a conference room going through financial records line by line while my brother sat across the table not looking at me. There were moments when I wondered if I should have signed the deed, taken the simpler path, kept the peace with what was left of my family. Then I would remember my mother's voice on the phone in those last weeks, slower than usual, the particular flatness of someone working very hard to track a conversation through a medicated haze, and I would go back to the records. The court ruled in my favor. The revised will was set aside. The original will, the one my mother had drafted 2 years before she got sick, clearly, on her own terms, with full capacity was reinstated. The house went to me as she had intended. The trust went to me as she had always said it would. My brother was ordered to repay the estate for legal fees. He was referred to the State Bar's Ethics Board for his involvement in coordinating with the estate attorney during a period when my mother's capacity was demonstrably impaired. Whether anything formal comes of that is still pending. Jade moved in with me 3 months after the ruling. She's finishing her degree online and helping me sort through my mother's things at a pace that doesn't destroy us. We take our time. Some days we sit in my mother's old room and don't sort through anything at all. We just sit. The house still smells like her sometimes. In the morning, when the light comes through the east-facing windows the way it did when I was a child, and she would come in to wake me up for school, I almost signed that deed. I was 2 seconds away. The pen was in my hand. I used to think the instinct that made me flip my phone over was luck. I don't think that anymore. I think it was every moment I had ever spent learning to trust myself, finally paying off at the exact right second. The women in my family built things slowly and carefully and with intention. They built them to last. I intend to do the same. Drop a comment below. Have you ever had a moment where something stopped you right before you made a decision you couldn't take back? I want to hear about it, because I know I'm not the only one.